Okay, here we go. So this isn't the beginning. I did a little bit of an overview of kind of some of the things that we've implemented since we started, or since I started the series last year. This is my second time with the series, and then I was going to focus on one of them. So, yeah, I was really motivated to utilize different evaluation forms that were more fun for everyone involved and also that were already embedded in our programming and didn't require like an additional kind of evaluation or space for collecting the data. And so some of the diverse forms of collecting feedback that I implemented was this over here. You can see this picture on the far left is kind of based off of a this creative ways to solicit feedback that Deborah shared with me, and I can put in the chat in a moment. And that had a photo booth evaluation. I didn't do it exactly as they said, but I basically asked the kids to write down, what were some of their favorite things and what did they learn, and then what were challenges, and they wrote them on these cue cards, and I would take their photos with the cue cards, and then I could kind of collect the information more later. And then another was doing a candy or token surveys. And so they could have a little bit of candy and then they would share feedback with us about their experiences. And another one was trying to use our skits as a form of evaluation. So previously, I noticed a lot of skits were about picking up trash or just like totally wild alien chaos a lot of the time. And so I wanted to create this a little more structure around our skits so that we could use those as a form of evaluating if students are learning while they're on site. And in an effort to do that, I made this little outline for our staff and the students to use when they were making skits. So it kind of narrowed down. They could always use a characteristic or vocabulary word that wasn't on the list, but this gave them a handful of words to kind of direct the focus of their skit. And so you can see we have habitat, oak woodland, chaparral, different habitats, and then adaptation, biodiversity. And then we had some here at the bottom, some more social emotional learning elements included too. And we tried to have them pick three. So ideally a little bit about the environment and then also a piece of social, emotional, and learning included in each skit. And so they used these last year to create their skits. And the big learning piece for me was that we had no way of actually collecting the data. I personally observed that it seemed like the skits were more reflective of their experience at outdoor school and did include more learning pieces. And were made a little bit more sense than they previously did, but we didn't have a good way of collecting data. So I learned a lot about the need for creating good data collection. And in more recent conversations with Deborah, I was introduced to the idea of a 1-point rubric, which I think is a really incredible system that could easily allow us an opportunity to actually then collect the feedback that we're receiving in the skits by using something like this. Like this is just one I pulled off the internet, but we could curtail it to the skits and kind of decide whether they're showing evidence of meeting or exceeding our standard or if they need to improve, and jot down real quick notes in there. And I think that would be a reasonable task for staff or even chaperones and teachers to do. Or we could even sometimes talk about it when they're creating their skits and help them use that 1-point evaluation to be like, okay, is our skit, is it doing that or does it need to improve in this area? And so I hope that we continue to explore using skits as a form of evaluation. And I don't know if that will happen. Um, and I think that um, I found in general that it was hard to get a lot of student leadership participation through Google Forms after they left the site. And so the photo and the token survey or candy survey were more valuable because I had the information. I received it while they were here. And I think they really enjoyed it. They like getting their photo taken and kind of getting to like hold up, like represent themselves. I think it was a little bit more fun. And we'd often go like somewhere out on the site and take those photos that they enjoy. And it was like a time for all the student leaders to be together, which often they're not. And I will open this and if I can, and oh, nope. Let's see. Maybe is Deborah on the call today?
No.
Okay, well, when I get off of this, I will share that in the chat because the creative ways to solicit feedback, I did personally request from Deborah, but it's a really incredible resource for kind of breaking out of the like surveying someone is how you collect data. And I have a special interest in that because I think it's nice if we're going to want to collect a lot of information for it to be fun for people to share that and for them to enjoy the experience. So I think that's all I have, and I'm available for questions. I think in all the in-person formats, like the student leaders specifically, I think they really enjoyed it. It's at the end of their experience, so it could be built in more throughout it. But I think they tended to, I just did this one season in the fall. So I feel like they all seem to really enjoy it. And I yeah, they really enjoyed it. I think they really enjoyed providing the feedback and it was a fun way to do it. I think sometimes maybe I need to more clarify and narrow the prompt a little bit, just to help the data be more cohesive and like digestible for me later. And then, yeah, kind of taking, and then the next step was just taking all that, typing it up, and then, yeah, storing it and trying to have that sense making piece. So I think it would be neat to have them maybe do a focus group, hang out pizza party with student leaders later, and have them kind of look at all of that information and help me assess it and see what meaning they also make out of it and kind of reinforce it being their perspective that is built instead of mine or ours.
Can I follow up on that? Because I was just thinking that with your rubric, my question was, do the students get the rubric before they do the presentation? Do they?
So I've never used the rubric.
Okay,
Like it was the big missing piece
got
last
it.
year, right? Like it gave them more tools. And I think I observed like there's qualitative data inside Claire's head and perspective that like the skits did demonstrate more learning than they previously had and seemed effective. But the missing point was a rubric. Like that part was never, I just never got to it. There's so much going on and I just never got to it. So I think it would be neat to provide it along with the skit kind of outline structure. So then we can ask the kids that and they can ask themselves, like, oh, are we doing this or can we improve it? And that it would be a nice tool for them to have during the skit creation time.
I agree. Yeah, I also would even wonder about having them grade each other on that, right? If it's just, and that way everyone is aware, like, is this working? Are we learning this, right? And you have to figure that out for your community, but
Yeah, I thought it would be neat to have them evaluate each other, and the skits are very vulnerable. So I also have a hesitation at the same time. So we'll see. Yeah.
Yep. And regardless, I'd put all that into the analyzing and making sense of data in culturally responsive ways, right? Because then people are just making sense of it in a way that's a part of the instruction. And I just want to highlight, I heard embedded assessment, which is awesome, right? It's like, what are we already doing? So
I have a question. Has anything that you've learned from these forays into receiving information changed the way that you do anything? Like, have you did some information that you gathered over the last year kind of indicate, we could do something even just a little bit different, you know?
I think that there's a tendency, I feel like there's a lot of good feedback. And so one of the things, like with the 5th and 6th graders, I'm curious about is like, there was some feedback of people are like, yeah, the student leaders didn't help me, or like, there was like a tiny bit, but and like that's great because we want them to have a great time. But sometimes I wondered if the way that the evaluation survey, the tokens was done, created enough autonomy or like privacy for them to truly express if they had a hard time. So I would say that's something I have a curiosity for improving, is like making sure that it's a safe space to like be like, I had a hard time. I didn't like a student leader, and I don't know. And obviously we want them to like it and have a good time, and that's great feedback. But I think making sure that it's implemented in a way that really creates safety for them to say if that wasn't their experience, so we can receive that feedback. And so that's a area that I am interested in improving. Yeah.